Have you ever thought about visiting a place that's, incredibly important historically, maybe even where a nation was born, but then found out it's,
Oh,
well,
right.
it's kind of under construction right now?
Yeah, not exactly tourist ready.
Exactly.
Okay.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into a place just like that.
Yeah.
The Nuwakot Fortress in Nepal. It's fascinating, unique, but, yeah, a bit complicated for visitors at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We're drawing heavily today from a really insightful article by David Ways. He's a well-known Nepal guidebook author, really knows his stuff.
He certainly does.
So our plan today is to unpack Nuwakot's amazing history, then look at the really tough impact of the 2015 earthquake, and finally get into the latest on the restoration efforts happening right now.
Right.
The goal is to give you a clear sense of what Nuwakot is like today,
Yeah.
and maybe why it's currently best suited for, let's say, visitors with a very specific interest.
Well, what's immediately striking about Nuwakot once you start digging is that it's so much more than just, some old ruins. It's like a direct link to how modern Nepal actually came into being. Originally, it was built by the Nuwari people. They're indigenous to the Kathmandu Valley.
Okay.
And they built it mainly to protect the trade routes, especially those coming from Tibet. But then it took on this huge role as the real starting point for Nepal's unification.
That strategic aspect you mentioned, it just looms so large in Nuwakot's history. Its location outside the Kathmandu Valley is key, and it's one of the few places you can still see that traditional Nuwari architecture.
Absolutely.
It was already a major fortress area during the Malla reign, right? That long period, 1201 to 1769 CE, when Nepal was all these separate little kingdoms.
Competing kingdoms, yeah.
But then comes the real turning point.
Right.
King Prithvinarayan Shah. He wasn't from the valley, he was from Gorkha. And he had this huge ambition to conquer the whole Kathmandu Valley.
A massive undertaking.
And he saw Nuwakot as the perfect staging ground, didn't he? Especially for cutting off those Tibetan trade routes, essentially to starve out his rival.
Precisely. It was all about strategy.
His first attempt, back in 1743, it failed.
It did, but he didn't give up. His second attempt was successful. And that victory at Nuwakot, that was the spark. It really started the domino effect that brought down the Malla era.
Wow.
Yeah, once he had Nuwakot, he moved fast. He built these huge military towers on the hills around it, basically choking off trade into the valley, weakening the Mallas bit by bit.
Clever but ruthless.
Well, his vision wasn't just about taking over. It was about unification. He wanted a strong, unified Nepal. He saw the British expanding in India and believed a united Nepal could resist them.
That's incredible foresight for the 18th century.
It really is. And the campaign wasn't easy. Kirtipur, for example, took 3 really tough attempts to conquer before he could move on to Patan, Bhaktapur, and then finally Kathmandu itself.
And the irony.
Yeah.
He passed away there, didn't he? In 1775, right in the Nuwakot Fortress Palace, before the whole administration was fully set up.
Exactly. At age 52, his sons had to carry on the work. So the place where he launched his dream also became, his final resting place.
It adds another layer to the site.
Absolutely. And the architecture itself, it tells that story too. The main building, the Sat Tail Durbar, the 7-story palace.
That's the iconic one, right?
That's the one. Built in 1762, it's this imposing structure, almost like a block, just perched there on the cliff. And it wasn't just a home, it was basically the command center. All the unification plans were made right there.
You can almost picture it.
Its design really shows his power and thinking. It had a museum for a while, opened in 2011, but that's closed now. After the earthquake, its back wall is literally held up by massive metal poles.
Oh, wow. So it's really precarious.
Very. And the layout was interesting too. Lower floors, more public or religious. 3rd floor, the king's quarters, plus his 2 wives, but their rooms were only accessible through his.
Really? That says something.
It does. Then there was a floor for guards, a big banquet room, and even this creepy, low-ceilinged interrogation room on the 6th floor, only about 4 feet high. And the very top, the 7th floor, was the Buja, the lookout tower. Perfect view over the valley, essential for strategy.
So it truly reflected his whole operation. Military, political, personal, all in one building. What about the other structures nearby?
Good question. There's the Garadgar, or Tilganagar, that used to be the army barracks.
Okay.
It was 4 stories tall originally, but the earthquake knocked it down to just 2. It needs a total rebuild.
Such a loss.
It is. Then you have the Ranga Mahal, the dance hall. That was for formal events, performances.
Super.
And what's really fascinating is, even though a Shah king built these, They look very much like Malala architecture, the style of the valley kingdoms he conquered.
Okay.
Because Prithvinarayan Shah actually hired designers and artisans from Patan, one of the main Mala cities, to build them. Shows he was pragmatic, used the best talent available.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. And then there are the temples, the Bhairab temple, which is said to be incredibly old, one of Nepal's oldest, and the Talaju temple, built way back in 1564 by a Mala king, Mahendra Mala.
Dedicated to the goddess Talaju, like the one in Kathmandu.
Exactly. And just like the one in Kathmandu, access is super restricted, usually only open one day a year during the Dashain festival.
So Nuwakot is just steeped in history, layers upon layers. But then 2015 happened, the earthquake.
Yes.
The source material describes it as being completely battered and torn. The fortress teetering, the old square crumbling away. It sounds absolutely devastating.
It was. The damage was just immense. That iconic sat-tail Durbar we talked about immediately needed those huge metal props just to stop it from collapsing entirely.
Terrifying.
The Garadgar, the barracks, basically lost its top 2 floors, needs a full rebuild. The Bhairab temple lost its second roof. They had to remove it for safety. And the Talaju temple got hit hard too, inside and out.
It really highlights how fragile these incredible places are.
Absolutely. Makes you realize what could be lost.
Which brings us to the restoration. It sounds like it's been a very long road, not a quick fix at all.
You're absolutely right. It's been incredibly long and challenging. The first announcement that China would handle the reconstruction came back in 2018.
Okay, so that sounds promising initially.
It did, but the project faced major delays. It officially kicked off in 2019, but then, well, COVID-19 hit and everything got derailed, plus all sorts of logistical nightmares.
Right. The pandemic complicated everything.
Hugely. Timelines just kept getting pushed back and back.
I can imagine the frustration for the local people just waiting and waiting for work to actually start properly on such an important site.
Oh, definitely. David Wei's article captures that local feeling really well. People, leaders, they've voiced a lot of concern about how long it's taken.
Yeah.
One resident pointed out it had been nearly 8 years since the quake. 8 years is a long time to see your heritage sitting damaged like that.
It really underscores the complexities, doesn't it?
Yeah.
International aid, politics, logistics, preservation standards.
Yeah.
It all takes time.
So much time. It's a huge challenge, especially on this scale.
Okay, so let's jump to the present. August 2025. This is where it gets really interesting for anyone even vaguely thinking about Nuwakot now.
Right. The latest developments.
After all that waiting, the main palace, the Sat-Tail Durbar, it finally entered its demolition phase just now, in August 2025.
Yes, things are actively happening on site. The Chinese government, through the Chinese Academy of Cultural Heritage, is leading this massive reconstruction effort.
So what does it look like there now? Is it just a construction site?
Pretty much. You've got Chinese technicians very carefully dismantling parts of the palace. They're being extremely cautious, trying to save every bit of archaeological detail.
That's good to hear, the focus on preservation.
Definitely. So expect scaffolding everywhere, dust, the noise of careful demolition and construction. Some parts of the palace compound itself might be off limits.
Okay.
But importantly, the areas around it, like the Talaju temple, are generally still accessible.
So it's not completely closed off. What's the overall plan? Just the palace or more?
Oh, it's much bigger than just the palace. This first phase focuses on the Sat-Tail Durbar, the security building next to it, and the Ranga Mahal, the dance hall.
Got it. Phase 1.
Exactly. Later phases are planned to tackle the Talaju temple, Siddhapati, Lempati, and other structures. The goal is to eventually restore 8 key sites in total. It's a huge commitment.
Wow, that's ambitious. Any timeline for phase 1?
They're targeting October 2026 for completing phase 1, which includes the main palace.
Okay.
But, and this is but based on David Wei's experience, he strongly advises taking that timeline with a grain of salt.
Right. Given the past delays.
Exactly. History suggests things might take longer. What is encouraging, though, is the stated commitment from the Chinese team to maintain the original Newari architectural styles.
That's crucial.
It really is. Unlike some quicker post-earthquake rebuilds elsewhere, this project seems genuinely focused on authenticity, which is vital for a site like Nuwakot.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the potential visitor. What does all this mean if you're thinking, maybe I should go see Nuwakot now?
Well, first off, David Weiss points out Nuwakot was always off the main tourist track.
Right, never easy to get to.
No. You always needed private transport or faced a pretty rough bus journey. And now, with the main palace actively being dismantled and rebuilt, he says it's a stretch to recommend it to anyone except Except those who have a really deep vested interest in historical sites and the actual process of renovation.
So history buffs and maybe architecture or engineering folks.
Precisely. It's not going to be that polished, picture-perfect historical site experience right now. It's a working site.
But he also suggests there's a unique angle to that, doesn't he?
He does. He frames it as a chance to see something rare. Heritage preservation happening live. Witnessing the careful restoration, seeing traditional Nuwari craftsmanship potentially in action.
Okay, I could see the appeal for a certain type of traveler, seeing history being put back together.
Exactly. Seeing the resilience, the skill involved. For someone with that specific interest, it could be really compelling, adding, as he says, an extra dimension to the visit.
So if you do decide to go now, what are the practicalities?
Okay, practical stuff. The entrance fee was 100 Nepali rupees for foreigners recently, but always best to double check locally.
Good tip.
Best time to visit is definitely early morning, say 6:00 to 8:00 a.m. to miss the worst of the construction noise and activity.
Makes sense.
You can still see the Talaju Temple area, the surrounding fortress walls, and the views over the Trezuli Valley are still amazing.
What about food and accommodation?
Very limited right near the fortress itself. David Ways mentions the famous farm as a nearby, though more expensive, place to stay. There are some commercial homestays too, but restaurants, basically none right there.
So pack a lunch.
Highly recommended if you're just going for the day.
Yeah.
There's a local shop for maybe snacks or drinks and some roadside places further down the hill, but maybe be cautious about hygiene.
Got it. And getting there,
Yeah.
still tough.
Still requires effort. Buses from Kathmandu go to Bidu or Trezuli Bazaar that takes about 4 hours. From Bidu, you'll need a motorbike taxi up the hill unless you fancy a steep 1.5-hour walk. Definitely grab the earliest bus possible from Kathmandu and make sure you know the return bus times before you head up the hill. Planning is key.
It really sounds like an experience for the dedicated few right now.
It is. But that brings up a really important point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why does this painstaking, slow reconstruction matter so much, even if it's not tourist-friendly yet?
Yeah, what's the bigger value?
It's about preserving that direct physical link to the events that literally forged modern Nepal. It's not just about rebuilding stones, it's about keeping that history tangible.
I see.
And seeing the traditional craftsmanship, potentially seeing Nuwari building techniques being used again. That's a unique cultural experience in itself. It's a living continuation of that heritage.
Right.
And maybe there's a provocative thought here. You know, we usually see historical sites all finished, all polished up. What do we miss by only seeing the end result?
What do you mean?
Well, by witnessing a place like Nuwakot in the middle of this slow, careful rebirth, what can we learn about persistence, about cultural survival, about the real effort and cost involved in protecting history? Maybe seeing the process teaches us something deeper about its value.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. Seeing the struggle makes the final achievement even more meaningful, perhaps.
Perhaps. It certainly makes you appreciate the dedication involved.
It's a fascinating perspective. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into Nuwakot Fortress, a place of immense history, facing present challenges, but hopefully with a restored future.
Let's hope so.
Thank you for joining us today. Unpacking complex stories quickly but thoroughly is what we aim for here on the Deep Dive. We hope this gives you food for thought about Nepal's incredible heritage and the ongoing work to preserve it.
And if this discussion has sparked your interest, maybe for a future trip when things are more settled, or just to learn more, definitely check out David Way's resources.
Yes, where can people find those?
His website is fantastic, the Longest Way Home Nepal travel website. Loads of detail there, transport info, other places to see, and his guidebooks are excellent resources too.
Great recommendations.
Yeah.
Definitely worth checking out if Nepal's on your radar.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.